Yo, commentary on meta. Let's check it out. Let's try that again. Okay, maybe one more time. Once more. One more time.
Okay, Meta, sweetie.
Please,
I
never
know
call Meta
I'm
a
no
sweetie
good
again.
But how the
Or
fuck
anyone
are you
really.
bad now?
In fact, never
What
say
happened to
anything
Spanish
again.
guitar
In
riff?
fact,
Your
no one
edgy
ever
attitude,
say
your
anything
amazing
ever.
I think they mean Meta 527 double I.
No, I said no way. Let's see here. Your title card appears for way too long. Your Kelly picture looks ugh. Marie's the better squid sister. And hi, Clay. Fancy meeting you here. I thought you were dead.
Greetings, my apprentices, and welcome to Rapid Commentaries.
I don't see what's so rapid about a 33-minute video, but whatever floats your boat.
With that said, it's time to...
And then here's me.
Oh, God, who are you?
Silver appeared prior to the title card. You even responded to him then. And now you're surprised? You must have the shittiest memory on the entire goddamn planet. Besides, you could have easily done that joke about being surprised at Silver's presence a lot better. In fact, let me try it for you.
What happened to your Spanish guitar riff? Your edgy attitude? Your amazing potential?
I think they mean Meta 527 double I.
That explains a lot. Who are you?
Fun. Learn the joke.
So, here's my story. Basically, I'm going around on Twitter playing some League of Legends. People play that, right? When all
Boo.
of a sudden...
Holy shit!
Oh, yo, you got Fizz and Kale in this?
What?
I got this.
Well then. Anyways, yeah. Co op and two people going after meta. But there's a bit more to it. See, believe it or not, but in spite of the 3 commentaries made on Meta's list, they really didn't cover a bit of what I think Meta did wrong with his top 10. So I'm gonna commentate on that too. So people are less confused, I'll be using 2 different avatars. When commentating on Fallen Silver, you'll be seeing Dark Pit. When I'm covering Meta, you'll be seeing Lana. There, you got it? If not, too bad.
These are killjoys, aka with the words kill and joys in them. Aka, if they play in an already bad moment, they don't count. Only if you have fun with a game and that point ruins your fun.
It's kind of obvious what Killjoy means, Meta. This isn't exactly a video made to 4-year-olds. You don't have to define the term.
It was just a brief description of what the topic of the video was. Besides, seeing as how this commentary turns out, it'd probably be in your best interest to keep the definition in mind.
You know what? I'm gonna play Meta's advocate here and... Wait, what if I were to argue he defined this so people wouldn't comment and ask why shit that ain't fun, in general, wasn't listed? It would save people asking why the entirety of Bad Rats or Gone Home is absent due to the lack of fun.
And remember that this is my list, not yours, so please respect that.
Alright, time for a crash course in respect. You don't get respect by asking for it, you get it by earning it. Usually by respecting the opinions of others, regardless of your own views on the matter, and by not having shit points for your own views. Funny enough, you probably would have had a better chance of garnering respect if you didn't ask for it.
This is a recurring thing with Meta's videos that I don't understand. If you don't understand what I mean, it's the fact that he leaves the audio from the source clip in the background of his videos sometimes. It's a huge annoyance for me, maybe others.
The better thing to ask is who wouldn't question this choice. I mean, even I'm looking at the incredibly slim possibility of someone liking this and I'm thinking, bruh.
I don't care what you say. If Quarter Guy and I don't like Shadow of the Colossus, and if we find it repetitive, we don't have to like the game.
I don't think anyone is going to bitch about you not liking Shadow of the Colossus, especially when you put something from it this low.
Are you kidding? This is the internet. I mean, I suppose it gets easier to have an unpopular opinion if you reason well enough to gain some empathy, but getting shit for opinions is kinda something for people to generally deal with around here.
And this Sarkeesian's not so bad after all, why are you looking at me like that?
Let's be real, nobody means Quinn.
My question is, why bring Adam up? It's not like the Quarter Guy has anything to do with this countdown. What's the point?
It's because he has a similar opinion to Adam, which would be the fact that he doesn't like the game.
True, but there are several people that don't like Shadow of the Colossus. It's not even brought up to make a point. It's just, hey, Quarter Guy doesn't like this game either.
Yeah, you got a point.
Was this scripted? If so, don't ever fucking do that again. When scripting, do not make a line where you basically say, I agree, no matter who you're agreeing with, unless it's a joke. But this wasn't a joke, this was fucking serious. Now, because I feel like bringing this up, Meta probably brought up Quarter Guy because Zerarick, in his commentary on Adam, compared Adam's explanation of why he didn't like Shadow of the Colossus to Meta's explanation. I'm not saying anyone had to know that for the commentary, but you know the old saying.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I.
Bassaran is easily the second worst boss in the game for me. But wait, why is there a Killjoy on this list from Shadow of the Colossus if I didn't find much entertainment value with this game anyways? Simple. By the time I faced Bassaran, I hadn't lost interest in this game yet, at least not until right after the fight with him.
Two things here.
You complain about the audio again, and not as Cool Pit complains about Meta's wording. I don't fucking care. You skipped a point from Meta after this. I want to cover that instead.
I don't think it's the worst boss in the game. I mean, Celosia is worse in my opinion. But I was already bored of the game way before I reached him.
Way before? Well, considering there's literally only one boss fight between the two, and you stated that you didn't lose interest in the game until this boss, I don't know.
To get onto him, you should get him to tip over with the geysers and then shoot arrows at the undersides of his feet. This wouldn't bug me if it weren't for the terrible horseback controls. To just keep riding around and around trying to learn this beast into the geysers. Unlike in the rest of the game, this boss fight can last about a half an hour, which is way too long for a boss fight.
Your audio dips down when it's already hard enough to hear you? It's kind of weird, to be honest. You only really talk about how the horse controls ruin the boss in this situation. It's only number 10, yes, but that can't be a really huge killjoy if it's the only one thing wrong with the boss. And it's not even a part of the boss fight in general.
While Aggro's controls are not exclusive to the Bassaran fight, it doesn't mean the problems that come with it aren't there. Whether or not Aggro's controls are the only issue with the fight or not is one thing, but if the one issue causes you to have overall less enjoyment from the experience, then I don't see why he couldn't qualify for the list. One actual reason as to why bringing up only Aggro's controls is bad, this is the 9th Colossus you've had to travel to. And because it's generally faster riding on horseback when compared to Wander running, you probably got to all of the Colossi via Aggro. You should have had some time to get acquainted with the horse controls, especially since most of what you had to do with Aggro during the fight is run away and turn. The simplest shit you could do with Aggro.
Alright, time to use one of my drive forms to level it up. What? Anti-form?
Am I the only one that finds it funny how he finds a somewhat powerful form that's a minor inconvenience worse than what's obviously the worst boss fight in Shadow of the Colossus?
I wouldn't consider Bassaran the obviously worst boss fight in Shadow of the Colossus, when plenty of people can make arguments for bosses like Celosia or Pelagia being the worst in the game. Even Meta admitted that Bassaran is only his second least favorite boss fight in Shadow of the Colossus. This leads me to my next point. When did Meta say Antiform was worse overall? Moreover, why does it even matter? This is a list of things that kills Meta's joy from the games in which they are in. Especially seeing as Meta admitted to not liking Shadow of the Colossus earlier, one can assume that the amount of joy killed from fighting Bassaran is not as great as activating Antiform. From a game we can reasonably assume he likes a lot more based solely on his intro.
Both your party members disappear no matter what form you attempted to switch to. I don't care if it's to balance out the game from being too easy. On beginner's mode, the majority of the fights will push over anyways.
In beginner's mode. You know, the easy mode.
Yes, let's all have a chuckle at Meta's poor wording and ignore Meta's point on how the Antiform failed in its purpose to balance out the game for being way too easy with the dry forms.
You can never go back.
If you want to unlock Hades' Paradox Cups, the requirements to unlock the Hades Cup are to level up all of your drive forms to level 7. And it takes a lot of patience. So for those of you who didn't know about this until the end of the game, this will be especially tedious.
To be honest, I think it's only truly tedious if you're trying to 100% the game. Antiform is kind of cool in my opinion, but who am I to judge? It's an opinion list.
Okay, so it's only a nuisance if he's trying to 100% the game. That doesn't mean it won't be a nuisance to anyone, let alone a meta. Also saving this bit for later.
Sonic Advance 3 is my favorite portable Sonic game. But, unfortunately, it has to be one of those Sonic games where getting all the Chaos Emeralds is required to face the true final boss.
Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Heroes.
Advance.
Advance 2.
Rush.
Rush Adventure.
Sonic Unleashed.
Sonic 06.
Sonic Generations.
Sonic Colors. Best Sonic game, by the way.
Now for the Wii version of the game. Can I ask a legit question? Why do you feel the need to plan out what Sonic games needed all 7 Chaos Emeralds? Like, what does this add? The only thing I can think of is that Meta's complaint applies to a lot of Sonic games, but that still doesn't refute Meta's claim at all. Wanna know my problem with this part? It's that Meta's making the prospect of Sonic Advance 3 being his favorite handheld Sonic game seem like a lofty accomplishment. It's not. Ignoring ports or compilations, I counted about 15 handheld Sonic games, and while plenty of them were fairly well received, only about half of them are platformers, and only one game from all of that was highly praised. Sonic Pocket Adventure for a Neo Geo Pocket Color, which I highly doubt you have, Meta. Even then, when people think about Sonic, they usually don't turn to the handheld games. They turn to the console titles, like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Adventure 1 and 2, Unleashed, etc. Point is, a favorite handheld Sonic game means jack shit. Don't try and make it something it's not.
And getting to the courses is a massive chore. In Sonic Rush, all you need is a high enough boost mirror to spin switches to get to the bonus stages. In Sonic 3, you just go through a giant ring to get to them. In Sonic Advance 3, however, you need to go through the stages and collect 10 Chao that are scattered throughout the entire level, which is made bad because the levels are very overexpansive. And after you get all 10 of them, that's not enough. You now go back into the levels and find a key with the same overexpansive levels that doesn't stay in the same spot every time. And then you can unlock the bonus courses. And the bonus courses are completely boring.
I'll agree that Advance 3's ways of getting to the special stages were tedious, but the special stages themselves weren't that bad. I mean, if you want bad...
The existence of worse special stages in Sonic totally discredits meta about Killjoys, am I right? You know, on an opinion list? That thing you admitted to this being earlier?
But who am I to judge? It's an opinion list.
GG.
You what?
By the way, never mentions how Advanced 3 special stages aren't bad, says Hero special stages are worth with absolutely no proof or explanation, expects people to side with him. GG!
In the beginning it's not too bad, but when you get to the Kelp Lake, there's way too much leaf jumping to do on it, where the leaves completely blend in with the water and you won't see where you're going to land until you drown.
He says as he shows footage that doesn't make them blend in. The leaves aren't that hard to notice, man. Unless, of course, you were playing on one of the worst TVs in existence. Also, how the ball sack does drowning in an ocean work?
How? How is that not blending in? Even with the color difference, you're comparing pitch black to super dark blue. Nocturne looks at this landscape and can't even.
Furthermore, your wording at the end is awkward as hell.
How the ball sack does drowning in an ocean work?
Simple. You dunk a guy's head underwater and wait for the bubbles to stop. This applies to fish too. Cover up the gills and they're still gonna fucking die. Even if they wouldn't, this is SpongeBob.
Hey, if we're underwater, how could there be a...
I rest my case.
I'll admit, I can tolerate the one in Crystal Cave because of the gorgeous scenery and the fact that you switch between using the orang sprint and sliding. In this one, however, that stuff isn't here.
Well, the monkey sprint might not be there, but the sliding sure is. This race is nothing but one singular slide.
You missed Meta's point. His argument was that, on top of the prettier scenery, the Crystal Caves race at least had you switching between how you could race, as opposed to this one, which you just admitted to being a single slide.
And don't get me started on the stupid music. Slow portions of platforming games are normally tons of fun, but this one isn't. To win, beat the Beetle in a race and get 50 coins. This might not have been so bad if this overgrown pest didn't maliciously try to ram you to make you lose coins. And if you fall off, let him beat you, or don't get enough coins, he deliberately mocks you for it.
It's called winning something and being a complete idiot about it, you idiot.
Do you expect him not to mock you? I mean, you did perform poorly. It's not like you're gonna get rewarded for it.
Here, let me fix it. Happy?
I think Meta's point isn't that he's punished for losing, it's that this character can't be taught the rule of talk shit, get hit, given the Beetle being an annoying scrub.
You know, this entire segment for you two can be set up like so.
Now if you excuse me, I'm off to run to the store and buy a few gallons of insecticide spray. Wait, I can't go anywhere until I finish this list?
Why not? What's keeping you?
What's obviously keeping him here is the games.
Clearly not the list, or he'd be putting effort in it.
It probably says something when I legit didn't even smirk at being MLG the first time I saw that, even after...
And here we have a good candidate for most infamous moment in the game. We must walk all the way down to Twilight Trail to get back to Twilight Town. And I can't use Yoshi to get there faster since this overgrown seed stole my friends.
More infamous than the Shadow Queen, the final chapter, the amazing other conflicts, this Killjoy is more infamous than all of that?
Let's listen to what Meta said about that again.
And here we have a good candidate for most infamous moment in the game. But good candidate.
Also, way to convince those who haven't played the game that these moments are more infamous.
You know, finding General White. You know, that thing that's almost literally nothing but backtracking. I'm just saying.
Keeping a tab on this too.
Because intelligence systems thinks it's funny. I get that Marilyn and Beldam learned their lesson at the end of the game, but this scene is played out for comedy, except it's not funny.
It's humor. It's subjective.
They say not to assume, and this is one of those cases. I've never played Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, but my guess is if one of the side characters in the game is being rashed on by a couple of jerks, it's meant to be played more sympathetically than funny.
Okay, hold up. I gotta real talk this because, hot damn, do I need to point this out. I get making judgments that are safe to say using footage to showcase given issues with a game. I get that sometimes you can just see problems right away, but you're really going to assume something about a game you haven't played without referring to related game footage in the meantime to better make your point, after you acknowledge not to assume things. For all I know, maybe the assumption was arguably right, but the way it was set up, the uncertainty that's apparent with this point is almost overwhelming. Hell, I remember what a guy I know once said about assuming things unsafely.
It makes you an ass, and you'll be a chump, and then we will shun you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, and he'll keep interrupting your game every time you cross a certain point. Thing is, I knew his name was Dupless before I played 1000 Year Door, and yet when I guessed that his name was Dupless, he still tells you no! Blast you, stupid Dupless! I hope you burn and rot in the depths of—
You're spelled devious wrong. Also, I could see this frame. Meta, you're editing. Get good.
Hey,
Mr. Devious Duplighost, what are you doing here?
he's my mascot, you know.
But I can explain.
Don't disrespect, Slick.
That cameo was okay. I mean, the audio could have been better. The text you put was really hard to read.
It wasn't funny either. And I'm pretty sure this moment was meant for the giggles.
Hey, remember this?
But who am I to judge? It's an opinion list.
Geez, how many times are you gonna go against yourself covering this one fucking section?
So you must go through that long, tedious road back to Twilight Town to see him. Once you guess his name, guess what? He flees the creepy steeple. And you know what that means? More backtracking!
Oh no! Backtracking in an RPG!
You can polish a ball of dung all you want. You're still holding a ball of shit.
Seriously, if you want some hardcore backtracking, play Metroid, or Monster Tale, or hell, Kingdom Hearts!
I get the idea of what they were trying to do with saying, "Sit tight, my man, you ain't seen backtracking yet." But consider me skeptical about how minimal the backtracking is here with
Finding General White. Literally nothing but backtracking.
and...
I've never played Paper Mario 1000 Year Door.
Yo, hold on, I've got a call coming in.
Fraud detected.
Alright, thanks, man.
Yeah, these games are all fucking worse with backtracking. But remember...
It's an opinion list.
Yeah, that was the sound of Fawn shooting herself in the foot. Why do you ask?
It's not the worst part of a Paper Mario game, though. At least it's not as bad as that hard labor section of Super Paper Mario forced on you by that stupid brat Mimi who needs to be shredded into a million pieces by a chainsaw!
Don't you dare just anyone of the Mimi name, or thou shalt burn in the fiery pit for all eternity!
But seriously, why mention this moment? Yes, you bring up that you didn't have as much fun in Super Paper Mario after this interjection, but did we really need that? I can see the bit of Celosia from earlier, since, unlike this moment from Super Paper Mario, you've mentioned your distaste for Celosia before in other lists. But here, it's the first time you've mentioned this, and it's not even at the beginning of the segment. If this was to reinforce that just because something is worse, that doesn't make it a killjoy, again, the Basterin segment. Besides, I'm sure your viewers can comprehend that being a killjoy isn't synonymous with being the worst thing ever.
Doesn't fucking matter. It's still a worse part of the game. You could easily just put that moment on the list instead of going on a huge rant about how backtracking is tedious as fuck.
Yeah, Meta could have put that moment on the list instead. But if it didn't murder his happiness as much, that'd defeat the purpose. Worse moments do not equal bigger killjoys. You know, forgetting on Meta's case for explaining the definition of Killjoy earlier, you sure aren't remembering the definition of Killjoy. At all.
Intelligent systems, as much as I love Thousand Year Door, you'd better make a remake of it and fix the backtracking issue.
Oh yes, because Thousand Year Door needs quite the remake to fix one tiny problem.
Maybe it is a small problem, but if you bringing up General White earlier has anything to say, it's that this small problem is not just a one-time occurrence. Now, other than backtracking, why would this game need a remake? Nothing about the mechanics or graphics seem outdated. The problems they could iron out are few and far between. And if your best argument otherwise is it's on the GameCube, that only means you get a port out of the Wii U's Virtual Console, not a remake. I'm sure backtracking isn't your only issue with the game, but it'd really help your case if you brought more than just that to support why it should get remade. Don't just be all backtracking sucks and then expect the video game fan to wait for Magic Wand and poof, remake. Actually, can we make that a thing? Please?
The build-up to the final boss was quite interesting since it gives you the feeling of slowly approaching the final boss, and even has different music, but then when you go to the room right before the boss, they completely recycle the pre-boss room to the final boss in the original game, and they were so lazy that they reused the same build-up cutscene to the original final boss. Then, if you haven't already guessed, this boss is an insult to the original final boss.
The original final boss has to be good first before you can call this one an insult to it.
Ooh, you get to be a condescending asshole. Goody. Now then, just because something's better, it doesn't mean it can't insult the worst thing it's being compared to. It'd be like if a crappy version of myself did commentaries before me, then I came along, did my thing, and I was better. But my presence still insulted the crappy version. Yeah, I'd be better, but I'd be insulting the original.
The first phase is even more pathetic than the first phases of the original, except you throw eggs at him as opposed to the creativity of pounding the ground. And the second phase is probably the biggest disgrace to a boss I've ever seen. Instead of looking intimidating like the original game, he looks like an overgrown twit. The shading on him is really bad, and it's easy to stay alive because the easiest way you'll die is if you fall into the lava, which won't happen unless your hand slips or something because of how the platforms barely shift at all. Baby Bowser in this game is a huge insult to an awesome boss.
Let me level with you real fast. Come closer. Closer. Not everyone got to play the goddamn original! As someone who didn't play this game and got into the Mario games more at the Wii era, Yoshi's New Island let me experience the original game in a new graphical setting. Not everyone has the money to buy every goddamn classic game on the planet!
Kind of an odd point to make when, technically speaking, you could get Yoshi's Island for like $8 on the Virtual Console.
But I only have $7.
So it's not like you've got to collect retro games for this if you've got a Wii U. See, now it's worth wondering if the $40 price range of the new version is worth. Because if the final boss ends up as a big-ass fluke in the remake, I can't imagine how well the money was spent for the remake's newly added kazoo music.
Oh sure, you didn't play the original Yoshi's Island, but once again, you missed the point. Meta has played both, so he, not you, he can call the New Island Baby Bowser fight an insult to the original. And even though you haven't played the original, one should still be able to identify that New Island got lazy and decided to rehash the final boss from an earlier installment.
Someone who did play the original, albeit not at that young an age, I'll say this. The original final boss sucked. From an aesthetic purpose, fine. It was good. Baby Bowser did manage to look intimidating. But no one looks at this from the gameplay perspective.
No one looks from a gameplay perspective, huh?
The whole perspective changes, both in terms of the challenge put in front of you, and more literally, with the game forcing you to shoot eggs into the screen at this colossal baby lizard.
This presents another wrinkle into the system. You have to fire eggs into the screen instead of across it, all the while scrambling to avoid Bowser's attacks and trying to find footing on the ever-shrinking platforms.
Giant eggs float in on little balloons, and once you grab one and aim it, it becomes apparent that this battle is completely different than anything else in the game. Once you get an egg, you have to aim it and shoot it directly at his face while he shoots enormous fireballs at you, all the while on minimal ground while he continually rushes faster towards you.
Not only was the baby Godzilla here ominously shadowed in the background, you were forced to literally change your perspective on the game in this fight.
You had to start aiming into the background instead of across it, and as Bowser approached ever faster, you really had to get used to this new aiming system, or you run out of time, and damn, this was intense!
Yes, it's all the gimmick of shooting into the background, but that's the only real change in gameplay. Otherwise, it's the same platformer jump and don't fall game that you've been playing for the past ever.
It's so awkward judging how far to throw your egg because the game does a horrible job telling you how far it'll go. And Baby Bowser is still easily pathetic. Just as pathetic, if not more, than Bowser from Galaxy 2. Yeah, I went there, grabbed the kitchen sink, and came back. The closer he gets, the easier it is to hit him. He fires a fireball at you, but it takes forever for it to reach you anyways. So, you're telling me this is an insult to this? Boy, this looks like an improvement.
But then again, it's all my opinion, so you can't hurt me.
You're right. It is Meta's opinion, and you're shitting on him for it.
It's an opinion list.
Not to mention, Silver, your opinion is now a popular one amongst people who've played Yoshi's Island. So not only are you shitting on Meta for his opinion on a boss, but you're shitting on him for agreeing with the general consensus on said boss. Doesn't help with your case at all, then you don't tell us why you think New Island's final boss is better. You just say it looks like an improvement. Actually, you don't even say you've played New Island, just that he looks like the better fight.
You forget this already?
I still love the original final boss, but I would have loved it more if this boss didn't insult it.
They're two different bosses! Why does hating one make you dislike the other a little less? That's like saying the Bowser Wii U fight sucks because you didn't like the one from New Super Mario Bros. 2.
Meta's example is saying that a newer fight is insulting an older fight. Your example is saying that an older fight is insulting a newer fight. Vaughn, no, that orange is not an apple.
It's a banana.
And even then, they're both the exact same fight. Oh, this Ditto is shit because this Ditto has a slightly higher speed stat. IR Pokemon genius.
Better done? The same fight. The two are comparable to a minor stat difference. You got the point to the stuff he was going on about, right? He literally just gave a pretty lengthy rationale of why the two were different despite being obviously similar, and I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna act like I'm that knowledgeable on this boss fight, but the footage with his justification gets the idea across pretty well, to be fair. So,
what in the fat fishes of a phenomenal Farfadugan fuck is going on?
The gamer stage is my most hated stage in the entire game, and unless we get any worse stages in the future installments, it's my most hated stage in the entire franchise. What makes me hate the stage so much is that mom! There are two problems with that. First off, the fact that your mom is the stage hazard? I don't care if it's based off a Game & Wario minigame. Making your mother a stage hazard in a fighting game? That's stupid!
Oh gee, it's so terrible. I wonder if there will ever be a way to remove this awful hazard from this stage. Woe is me.
The ability to change to Omega form does not mean the issue isn't there. This is especially the case in Classic Mode, All-Star Mode, or Event Matches, wherein you can't change to Omega form for battles. So if you land in Gamer, you'll have to deal with Mom as an obstacle.
I would like to point out that the plumber is currently fighting a living pink balloon in a game where you can play as a dog and duck combo. And yet the mom is a stupid thing to him.
Yo, but we aren't gonna mention the mom hype from the trailers, though?
It's Mom! It's Mom!
I know what you're thinking. Well, other stages like Distant Planet and Summit had worse hazards. Well, on Distant Planet, the stage darkens, giving you a warning sign that you should move away from the slope. And in the Summit, you only get eaten on the bottom platform.
What the fuck? So, using brawl stages to compare bad hazards when this is a Smash 4 stage?
Those two stages don't even have bad hazards. They're the least hazardous stages bar Final Destination and Battlefield. I mean, at least use Smash 4 to compare. At least.
Here, let me do it for you, you lazy Knight Kirby! The Mario Kart 8 stage has floating platforms, and the track moves all around. Find Me has that giant-ass boss dragon. Wily's Castle has Yellow Devil. Pyrosphere has Ridley. The Super Mario Land stage has Nabbit, Kamek, and changing platforms. There are a lot of other comparisons you could have used here from Smash 4.
You know, it's funny. You say that Distant Planet doesn't qualify as a good example because it's from Brawl. Yet you're willing to provide examples from Smash 4 for the 3DS. Guess what stage is on Smash 4 for the 3DS? Distant fucking Planet! Even then, those stages are still within the Smash Bros. Series. Smash 4? For the Wii U? No, but still Smash. The comparison Meta made was honestly not that outlandish. Could he have made better comparisons? Yes. Does that make his point moot because of it?
No!
With this, on the other hand, it can not only happen out of nowhere, but even when you're safe, there's almost no room to fight sometimes. This is even worse than the Past Your Bedtime event match, where you have to get Ness, Bowser Jr., and Toon Link all to fall asleep at the same time, but it's really hard to when that mom keeps interfering. I don't care if you people like it. Just because you think it's funny doesn't mean I automatically have to agree with your opinion. Remember, this is my list, my opinion, so learn to respect that.
Ah, yes. Thanks for attacking your audience. That's smart. Can I say something really quick, though? I don't care that you don't like Gamer Stage. I really don't. I could care less about you liking or disliking anything on this list. The reason I'm responding at all to this sort of thing is that each of your arguments can be rebutted easily.
And you're doing such a fantastic job of doing so. You want a gold star? I'm sure Fauna Ray made one. She can make another.
I'm more pissed off by the fact that he counts something that is optional as a goddamn killjoy. If you don't like it, play a different stage. Or,
If his anti-form segment is anything to go by, Meta likes trying to 100% his games, which one could argue that he could do in Smash 4 with the challenges. Among the challenges include completing all the event matches, and among those is completing Past Your Bedtime, which means that if Meta wants to 100% the game, he'll have to fight a normal, non-Omega gamer at least once. And that's ignoring all the times Classic Mode might choose Gamer as a stage to fight on. Again, just because it's optional doesn't mean it's non-existent and should be treated as such.
We should have gotten a stage from the Wario World rather than this. I know that Game & Wario was more recent, but I'd rather have a Wario World stage than this.
And I'm pretty sure that most people want Ridley as a playable DLC character rather than a stage boss, but we all can't have what we want, can we?
Despite not having a dick, you sure are acting like a massive one right about now.
Hey, give him credit. At least a Wario World stage sounds like a good idea. You people are easily surprised, aren't you?
That was actually kind of funny. Wait a second, I need to have a point. I have an idea. Let's throw back what Fawn just said.
But we all can't have what we want, can we?
Yeah, Fawn sounded like a massive cunt, didn't she?
What the? Hey, idiot! You can let go, you realize that? Luca's right beneath you. She can catch you. Why isn't anyone else trying to help you? Hopefully Chrono can do something about that. Are they? Oh no. Well, they should land on the ground soon enough. They're not going to land, are they? Okay, fair enough. That's fine. Let me see if I can put this properly. Why did you make this idiotic excuse of an ending?
1, holy shit, my ears.
Yeah, now I know I'm deaf. What?
2, I don't think any of that was funny. Like, at all. You dragged it on for too long, mate. I rate 1 out of 8.
1 out of 8? Don't you think that's a bit high of a score?
Dude, I was rhyming.
Rhyming! Get the gun!
Already getting it!
Nice job complaining about Meta dragging his shit when that's exactly what you do right after with that joke. Say it with me, everybody.
No, you!
I'm glad there are multiple different possible endings, but this is hands down the worst ending. Chrono and Merle just got stuck to balloons, and they are never seen landing, so we can assume that they'll never get back to Earth, and we're supposed to find that funny. I'm no expert on helium, but I'm pretty sure it would take way more balloons than that to carry those two away.
According to Core.com, an average sized balloon holds about 14 liters of helium. The average mass of a person is about 80 kilograms. Helium can lift about 1 gram per liter, so it would take 8,000 liters of helium to lift one person off of the ground. That's 571 balloons. Multiply that by 2, and it would take 1,142 balloons to lift them off the ground. So you're right, it would take a lot of balloons to lift them into space.
As a bona fide math nerd, please shut up. I'm not even caring about whether or not you're right or wrong. It's just all irrelevant. Fucking Matt Pat's rolling in his future grave over this.
And for that matter, isn't there magic present with Chrono Trigger? Just saying, I can totally imagine the helium science being moot with the scene consisting of
such wondrous magic at work here.
The helium doesn't leak out of the balloons, they carry them into space. There's nothing funny about watching Chrono and Merle get carried into space, where there's no oxygen and where they'll suffocate to death. Did they even think about that?
In the end, it doesn't even matter. In Chrono Cross, the sequel to Chrono Trigger, Chrono appears as a ghost. So, good news, the balloon ending's most likely not canon. Bad news, Chrono's still dead as shit in the sequel.
Despite my little lecture about helium earlier, you gotta remember something. It's a game. A game. It's not supposed to follow every goddamn law of physics, science, biology, and such. I mean, come on, this is the game where you have a magic fucking Toad Knight.
This point makes your entire spiel about the carrying capacity of helium completely fucking pointless. Before, we could argue, magic. But now even you say it doesn't matter. I agree that logic doesn't matter much, but be fucking consistent in something other than being inconsistent.
These two saved the entire world, and this is the thanks that they deserve? This is hands down the most mean-spirited ending cutscene to any video game ever. There's nothing funny about watching two good guys get taken from the planet forever and suffocating to death. This ending does the same thing to Chrono Trigger that Agatha did to Twilight Princess. Chrono Trigger is still an epic game, but this moment right here is so atrocious that it makes me forget about all the amazing times I had with Chrono Trigger.
You must have the shittiest memory in the entire goddamn planet then.
You plagiarism.
Even when I don't like an ending, I still remember all the good times I had with the game. Monster Tale had a furiously upsetting final boss and ending, yet I still love the game because of all the good that came before it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say that Meta probably could have put that better, but you can still be hung up on a bad ending, or just said ending having a complete tone switch that leaves you thinking, what the shit? Kinda can distract from all the good if it's too glaring.
With number 1, on the other hand, there is no excuse. I repeat, no excuse for it. That is the part of Final Fantasy VI where you keep getting fish.
Wait, what?
I know, right? Why'd the fish have to cancel Sid's life too?
In the apocalypse. So what do we do after that? We play as Celeste and keep going to the shore to get fish and bringing them back to her grandfather.
Again, what? Why is this goddamn thing a killjoy? You just survived a goddamn apocalypse. What were you expecting? Some huge-ass party?
In the context of the game, sure, there's not much joy to be had, what with the apocalypse and all. But as a story, one could still enjoy it. Yes, the story took a dark turn, but dark doesn't equal an absence of fun. Dark stories can still be enjoyable. Dark jokes can still be funny. Shut up, Matthias!
Do you see what is wrong with this? We're forced to constantly go back and forth between the beach and the house in order to do this. There is literally nothing else to it, except for how you should go for the faster ones and ignore the slower ones, for they'll make his illness worse. I wouldn't mind that, but this goes on for about half an hour of nothing but going back and forth between the beach and the house!
Ladies and gentlemen, another master of unnecessary and quite frankly stupid hyperbole.
I really don't think this segment takes half an hour. 5 minutes at the most.
To be fair to Meta, the fishing segment can take up to half an hour. It just requires the player to not know what they're doing. Point is, Meta, get good.
Yeah.
And sometimes there aren't enough fish in the sea, so you have to constantly walk back and forth between screens in order to reset it. And every time you walk back into the house, you have to wait for him to get into bed before you can feed him the fish.
Oh no. You have to wait a second for a guy to get into his bed, which does not take any time at all!
Sid has a counter that starts at 120 and needs to go up to 256 to keep him alive. The fish you bring him can either increase the number or decrease it. However, for every second that passes, the counter goes down by 1. The fact that you have to wait a second can be seen as an issue. A minor one, yes, I can see that. But if it contributes to killing your joy, then there you fucking go.
I didn't feel like someone's life was in my hands when doing this. If anything, it completely ruined the mood.
Well, what do you expect? The world ended. There shouldn't be any fun in being one of the last goddamn people alive.
My Fallout 3 career begs to differ.
Daddy!
Yes!
And after all that, he goes on about how the suicide scene is dramatic and how he wished he knew that saving Sid was optional the first time around.
Great googly moogly, it's all gone to shit.
According to your own words, Meta would actually go on about how it was optional and how the game didn't do a good job of reciprocating that it was optional. Keep in mind, this was after she bitched at Meta for having his #1 killjoy be optional. Okay, so let's ignore for a moment that complaining that it's optional is bullshit since it's still in the game and therefore can still qualify as a killjoy. Never mind that you can actually save Sid. You got onto Meta's case for complaining about something that's optional, then say that he actually addresses that and maybe even talk about why that's still dumb, but then you went ahead and skipped it all because Obama got my soul!
This guy's the worst countdown maker I've seen. Period. Without any exaggeration, all kidding aside, I hate this countdown. Every moment. None of the segments make sense. His logic is warped and twisted. I could go on for hours. Hours!
None of these make sense, huh? Well, better tell that to Obsidious fan, whose own Killjoy list, which came out after your commentary, might I add, also included Antiform. This same Antiform that was on Meta's list. I'm just saying, if Meta's inclusion of Antiform makes no sense, neither should Julian's, or else you'd be a fucking hypocrite. Or at least a bigger one.
Alright, I'll give credit where it's due. Both sources may have felt slightly forced in the antics and jokes pulled, but at least I was a lot less bored with Meta's video. But hey, you two! And what else gets me about this is the lack of clarity with the points made. I'll go ahead and say that Meta's honestly not too shabby at giving people the right idea with each entry, but when Meta's points don't escape this duo, and mind you they do, these two make the points less cohesively and directly than Meta does. I mean, whether or not he makes an UG point, because that stuff is mostly TP's turf here.
He's not wrong.
It's like, boom, there's the point, pretty simple. Hell, I can barely even notice the little touches that help make Meta's case, all things considered, but it really does become apparent when you have a co-op commentary on him that makes me want to call bullshit on the commentators in question more than I should. But, you know...
See, here's the thing that gets me. I get that Meta's video was fucking horrible. He admitted himself that it's terrible. But, honestly, Meta's problem wasn't that other moments were worse. It was his wording, his arguments, his basically everything except for the moments themselves. Yet, for the most part, you missed that. You never argue on how your examples could be worse killjoys, just worse moments. And you regularly ignore how it's still his opinion, as if the apparent fact that other moments are worse somehow disproves that. Also, the humor in this video just kept dragging on and on and on. Silver Keyblade, I'll give you this. Literally everything in this video that I chuckled at came from you. You had a better sense of timing and use of funny gags than fun, so I'm not going to fault you as much as your co-op partner. But you still participated in a lot of the other attempts at humor that fell flat. I didn't hate you, but literally the moment you opened your mouth for the sake of anything other than a joke, or whenever your partner opened her mouth at all, I wanted to kill myself. In fact,
Know you, know your mother, know your father, know your brother, know your sister, know your cousin, know your aunt, know your uncle, know your neighbor, know Billy Johnson down the street, and oh my god, know your dog.